You ready?
Showtime.
On May 3rd, summer starts with The Fall Guy.
Let's do it later.
Let's drink a spicy margarita.
Make some bad decisions.
Yes!
Audiences are falling in love with the most entertaining film of the year.
Fall Guy.
Fall Guy?
Fall guy.
That's what the poster said.
See Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in the movie critics say exists to make you happy.
Trying to make it out?
Nope.
Because I don't either. It's not what I'm into right now.
What are you into?
Talking.
Yeah.
The Fall Guy. Only in theaters May 3rd. Rated PG-13.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Now, before we start our chat, we want you to head over to seriechronicles.com/Patreon now and subscribe to the Chronicles Tifosi membership with a free 7-day trial. Get priority access to every episode and voice note before the rest of the world. Plus, no ads and bonus Patreon-only exclusive episodes and video episodes. Also, be sure to join the new chat community in the Patreon app and chat with fellow subscribers.
The other day you heard Patrick reporting live from the Jewish Stadium in Bergamo, and tonight, for the first leg of the Europa League semi-finals, you get me reporting from my head-spinning multi-screen experience at home, I'm afraid. Yeah, really sort of fascinating and slightly overwhelming night to try to keep track of all of the 3 Italian clubs in European football all at once, all kicking off at the same time. I was multi-screening, but generally even when you multi-screen football you have to sort of focus a bit more on something than others. You always have one game on the big telly, don't you? Which for a lot of the night was the Roma against Bayer Leverkusen game. Towards the end, as that game started to seem like it had settled into a more clear pattern, I was more focused on Marseille against Atalanta. Then the moment that finished, I switched over and with quite amazing timing onto the big telly went Mbalanzola scoring Fiorentina's winner against Club Brugge. I think it would be unrealistic for me recording this this voice note right at the end of the games to give a sort of detailed analysis or breakdown of all these games. This is very much just going to be the first impressions, the sharp impressions, and I'll start with the Roma game just because that was the one that probably had more of my attention for most of the night. Really disappointing outcome, certainly. I think that a lot of us were very curious to see whether Roma could stand up to this Leverkusen team. I think there was differing degrees of optimism. When we were talking about it the other day, there were players in this lineup we weren't expecting to see there. When it was Patrick and I throwing ahead to this game, we thought that Lukaku wasn't going to be part of this game. We didn't expect necessarily Smalling to be there. And those players were there, although perhaps also not delivering at their best. Lukaku did have the one perhaps best chance of the game for Roma at 0-0 when he hit the woodwork, but Smalling involved in the calamity that led up to Leverkusen's first goal. And I have to say, at the time you looked at that and thought, oh gosh, what a terrible goal to concede, and especially having come quite soon after that opportunity for Lukaku. It felt like a bit of a hammer blow to really just give that goal away to Florian Wirtz. But the longer the night went on, the more you just felt, well, they couldn't very justifiably have been a different outcome to this game than Leverkusen winning markedly better than Roma over the course of 90 minutes. It was actually sort of one of those fascinating tricks of the mind, is that I really started to feel like Leverkusen had complete control of the ball, and then when I was checking the numbers at the end of the game, actually Roma had more than 50% of the ball, but that really just showed how the ball was being used and how effectively Leverkusen were just keeping Roma at arm's length. I thought Roma were a bit too ragged in their press. They were just, it felt like, in general, a step slower to the ball all over the pitch than Leverkusen, and they certainly, it felt like, were tactically outmanoeuvred. Verts up front was a surprise choice. That wasn't necessarily what people expected to see from Xabi Alonso, to have him notionally leading the line, but in practice very much was a false line situation. We saw Verts dropping often into that space just behind the attackers, the number 10 role, the trequartista role, and that movement everywhere, the fluidity of Leverkusen, the energy of Leverkusen. I think it was a really sharp reminder that we are talking about a team that has produced on a different level this season. Of course, there's going to be this temptation and perhaps inevitable desire from some people, because you can't talk about anything at Roma and what happens this season without some people wanting to bring it back to that conversation about Jose Mourinho. There's going to be some people who contrast this with last season and Roma knocking Bayer Leverkusen out of the Europa League in May, and how effectively Roma, without creating that much, without having anything like as much of the ball, I mean really having barely any of the ball across the two legs, were able just to neutralise Leverkusen and restrict their options. I think you have to take a step back and acknowledge that what Xabi Alonso has done and that the team he's got drastically different to what Roma faced last season. This is the best team in the Bundesliga, and you see why it has been on this now nearly 50-game unbeaten run for a reason, because they do play really high quality football, and I think absolutely it would be right to frame an analysis of this game more about what they did right than about what Roma got wrong. But at the same time, this is a Serie Chronicles podcast, and you can find that content on German football elsewhere. So I think the point at which we can frame it, I think probably most interestingly from our perspective as Italian football specialists, is just to say that De Rossi, for one of the first times I feel like since he took over the job, really looked like he was outmanoeuvred and out of thought. I think a lot of people were expecting to see Boniface up front, so even the choice right away with Verts starting was a surprise.
Support for Serie A Chronicles is brought to you by Manscaped, who are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Shaving your jewels doesn't have to be risky business anymore, thanks to the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This trimmer is all about keeping things smooth and safe, so you can trim with confidence. Treat your boys down there and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com to get 20% off plus free shipping with code Serie. With Manscaped, it's easy grooming, no surprises.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It just felt like there was an opening part of the game where both teams were feeling each other out. It wasn't necessarily that move completely tricked Roma into a disaster right away, but the longer the game went on, the more it just felt like the control was totally with Leverkusen, and the changes that De Rossi made weren't able to bring that back. He took off Rick Karsdorp just after the hour. Karsdorp, of course, who's passed really together with Smalling. He and his lost possession was what led to the first goal for Leverkusen. But in the middle of the pitch, again, even with a fair amount of the ball, it just felt like there were no real clear ideas thrown about how they were going to bring that ball forward, whereas on the other side you had Grimaldo, Stanisic so effectively advancing possession down the flanks. It felt like Roma didn't have a good idea. It didn't have a good plan beyond the perhaps Mourinho familiar plan. And I'm saying that slightly harshly because we are talking about the sad end of Mourinho's tenure rather than some of the better moments of just try and get the ball to Dybala and hope he's going to do something. And it felt like that was the limit of Roma's ideas at times, especially along the game went on to the second half. It's not necessarily over at 2-0 down. I think it's worth reminding ourselves that Leverkusen in the last round of this competition trailed 2-0 at home to Karabag. In fact, they conceded the second goal in that tie at a point when they were even a man up on Karabag. So it is possible to get at this team. I think defensively they are not totally impregnable. And again, Roma, they had their half chances in this game, perhaps more than a half chance in the case like the Lukaku one. But it's going to have to be a drastically better performance than this, and I'm not certain where that's coming from. It'll be fascinating to see how Roma approach the weekend game against Juventus now, knowing that they need to turn this tie around in the second leg. Contrast to that, well, perhaps not contrast to that, but certainly a different kind of game between Marseille and Atalanta. It's hard to talk about this game and not just go immediately to the obvious, which is Gianluca Scamacca, the hope for all Italians now, I think, going into the Euros, who wasn't even called up for the last Italy squad. Wasn't even part of the squad in March for those games against Venezuela and Ecuador, but certainly.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Certainly, we would hope to see him getting more opportunities with the form he's been in. I think at this point, if you're asking me, sorry, I'm just distracting myself taking something while I'm talking. At this point, for me, I think you have to be very seriously, if you're Spalletti, considering, even if it's not what you expected to, thinking about whether this is going to be the guy who leads the line for Italy and is that first choice at number 9, because he's in such good form, and I think it would not be the first time we've seen a striker, in particular strikers, have a run up to a major tournament like this where they've just got the bit between their teeth and carry that into international competition. So brilliant to see how he took the goal, although of course it was the reverse ball from Koopmeiners that made it. What a sensational player, what a absolutely powerful creative force he's been for them. I think there wasn't that much else in what I saw of the Atalanta game that sparkled. It definitely felt like at times that defence was wide open, and if Aubameyang had been more efficient, Marseille could have turned this early deficit into a win, and of course they also had the goal disallowed in the second half as well. So Atalanta, perhaps, I don't know if lucky is the right word, fortunate, I think perhaps I think fortunate says it better than lucky, which is a subtle distinction, but to me an important one. Perhaps fortunate to get the draw, but I do think that bringing it back to Bergamo absolutely will still feel confident that they can win this tie in the second leg. I think that one's going to be a really fascinating, finely balanced game going into the second leg. Very clear that Jean-Louis Gasset has done good things at Marseille, and the energy in that team was impressive. But I don't think beating this team at home is at all beyond Atalanta, and I think the draw away from home not at all a bad result. So very much in the balance, that one, and perhaps the most fascinating of all the second legs of these ties. I saw the least of Fiorentina's game against Brugge, with apologies to the Europa Conference League superfans. I switched across, like I said, just in time to see Nzola scoring the late winner for them. Huge, obviously, to get that goal and to have that advantage going to the second leg. Away goals no longer a factor, so the fact they've conceded twice, not a big deal. Would certainly have been disappointing not to get the win at home, with Brugge playing the last half an hour or so on 10 men. Again, I think very nicely poised for the second leg. And if we want to talk about Italian strikers, even Andrea Bellotti, also not called up for the last international round, scoring in midweek. So some good news for the Italians, even amongst a mixed round for the Italian sides. Yeah, very much in the balance. I was just before I started recording, seeing some quotes from Svidal, from the goalkeeper, saying, Svidal, that De Rossi had been telling the team at half time to not worry about overcommitting to the attack, and to remember that this is only the first of 4 quarters. We're now another quarter later, and of course the second quarter was not so good for Roma, but still very much only half time in these ties, and a lot still to happen. So looking forward to the second legs.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.